I thought today was going to be pretty relaxing, low volume, mostly sideways action until the Fed, the ADP, all the data coming tomorrow. But it was not the case. Now, I don't know why the markets moved so much. There's several reasons. The Royal Bank of Australia had a rate hike. That was a bit of a surprise. We had some hotter EU inflation numbers, jolts US factory. We obviously had the pre-FOMC moves. Maybe people were positioning themselves, but in my opinion, it was mainly and only perhaps the banking crisis. Now, I've always said the banking crisis is not over. We seem to be moving from one bank to the other. So, we had Silicon Valley, Signature, we had Credit Suisse, and then First Republic. And now, yesterday, everything is all good, all clear, banking crisis over. It wasn't the case. So now we've got, what is it, Westpac Bank. There's another one. There's like three or four actually that we're taking a bit of a hit today, and it's just not over. And that's what I've been saying. That's why I think it's going to continue. It's just going to be one domino after the other. Maybe multiple ones in a day. We haven't had that yet. But actually, what we're probably missing is another, because Credit Suisse was big, another big bank going down. Now, today there were lots of heavy moves, so I'm going to go through them. I didn't expect it. It was very exciting stuff. Gold outshined everyone once again, so that was the ultimate safe haven, and the miners did very well. That was good to see the miners following gold rather than the market, but that's what it's been doing for some time. So let's just check straight away. S&P, not the massive damaging candle today, but still, yesterday we tagged the high, and today we almost tagged, well, maybe not almost, but we were closer to the bottom than the top of this channel. So for me, I would say, right, it's time to test 405 tomorrow, which would be quite a drop, by the way. But, with FOMC, with what is it? We have two other data releases. Is it ISM, or we just had that? It skips my mind. I said at the beginning. But anyway, we've got two more data releases, but I think FOMC is the big one. And let's see what happens if there's a Q&A. So you've got sort of two parts to the FOMC. You've got the statement and then you've got the Q&A. So it's like a game of two sides sometimes, two halves. So let's see how far we can go lower. I'm going to stick with this channel's resistance and support levels for S&P. And, even if we close below 404 and it starts to look bearish, medium term bearish, it's got quite a lot of support on the way down. It's not like the others, not like the Russell. We're going to get to that. Nasdaq, pretty similar. We tagged the top. We didn't go as far below, but I still think these two trend lines, these channel resistance and supports are valid. And also this ascending on the way down. Not sure if that would hold. If we close below here and then the market starts to cascade lower, I don't think this ascending would work. But if we've got a pretty strong support, I don't know, we'll see. But I think the first support will be this 310. Nasdaq still pretty much outperforming. Dow Jones, big red candle. It's still just down 1%. I still think the resistance and support is valid. I would be surprised if we don't go test the 33,300 level tomorrow. That might be one of the first ones to crack and close below its immediate support. However, the weakest, as always, is the Russell. Made a new low compared to the last couple of days. Okay, didn't close below support, but obviously, as I've been saying for some time, if the KRE in particular, this regional small bank ETF, keeps flushing, we're going to be at the second last line and then lower. But look, FOMC could reverse everything. I personally think they're going to do a 25 basis point hike. I think if anything, that will send the market lower, maybe not too much because it should be priced in. But still, this is what's been pushing the banks down. You got another, during the banking crisis, whilst banks are going down, you're going to make a rate hike on the same day. I don't think that can send the markets up. So I think we will actually visit this lower part, maybe just tag it, not close near it. But let's see, just small baby steps or larger steps at this point on the way down to new lows. So for me, it's still the KRE, it's still the Russell. Let's look at the banks since we're talking about them. XLF, look at this double top here. Yeah, tagged it again yesterday with a red candle, very bearish, mentioned that. And here we are, we went lower than the last time we visited this low. closed. Okay, this is not real support, but closed pretty low. Let's see. I mean, the banks took it pretty much in the face today, so will they really go much lower tomorrow? I don't know. I still think we're gonna lose one a week, something like that. So if this starts to go lower, well, you know what? They're led basically by the KBE and the KRE. Look, KBE. I thought this would take 1 or 2 days, straight away on the first day. These moves that I'm sort of predicting, whatever. The one thing I seem to get wrong the most, which is not really a bad thing, is the time at which it happens, which is good because I'm eager to trade. So, I sometimes I think this would take 3 days. It just happens in one. That always surprises me, actually. Also on the way up for different assets, obviously. But yeah, KBE closed at new lows, went really low, down 5% at the close, was obviously lower. I think why not visit the March 2020 lows, the Corona lows. I mean, the first support, it's probably the first time I'm looking at this now, but I would say this 28-ish for the KB. But for me, it's the KRE that's really taking the cake, and the equivalent, I guess, just straight away. I always do this live, with what I think. And then something like this on the way down. How much of a move down is that? Yeah, 11, 25, 10 to 25% move down. Definitely can do 10%. If we have another bank going down, why not in 1 or 2 days? So for me, KRE, really weak. Obviously, KRE, KBE, we could have another bank going down this week, tomorrow. I don't know. And that's going to put pressure on the Russell. And this is a day where you can judge how all the assets will do when it's a bit chaotic. It wasn't the craziest day, but you got -2% in the Russell because of the KRE. What about the S&P and the Nasdaq? We think maybe the Nasdaq can be green. No, you are forced down. So even though these ones have much stronger chart patterns, if we really have acceleration to the downside, like Russell closing below 162, everything's going to start to cascade, and then people start talking about, oh yeah, we are in a bear market, and give different excuses, but we could start to see some panic, I think is what I'm saying. Anyway, let's check out rates. It's a shame I'm doing this video late because the market reset a bit, but I mean, yesterday I thought interest rates could start to go higher. And yeah, okay, they did actually venture up a little bit, but obviously they got smashed. Everything's reset now, but they got smashed because as we've seen with this banking crisis, people buy bonds just in fear. It's basically bonds, gold. You can't really say the dollar, but obviously everyone's selling a lot of stuff and holding dollars. There's really gold and bonds, and rates get smashed. So that's what we saw today. It's just a banking fear day, in my opinion. That's why, out of all the reasons for the volatility today in all asset classes, I still think it's the banking crisis that took front stage. That's the first year. The 1 year, sorry, the 2 year, different. The 2, 5, 10, 30 all have different charts, but they all look like this. They all look like, as of yesterday, that they're going to go up to their nearest horizontal resistance. But after today, bam, bearish engulfing. Not really engulfing, just big smash. This is now no longer relevant. Yeah, we could. I mean, look, tomorrow's also equally full of data and reasons for things to go up and down. It's all about the close because that will be after digesting everything, including the FOMC speech. So yeah, I don't know which way it's going to go. I think if the Fed raises rates, which they will, it could sort of want to go up. But it depends what's going on with the banks because that sends it the opposite way. People are buying bonds. So what chaos takes center stage tomorrow? Maybe during the morning we have one move, and in the evening we have another. I'll just let the charts do the talking because so far it's worked quite well. So yeah, they still have the same sort of resistance and support, the 2, 5, 10, and 30. The 30 yesterday actually ventured higher, but today it's smashed back down. We don't care about that. So yeah, let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's look at the dollar. See, dollar was, wanted to venture higher and then no, which is quite not surprising. We've seen the dollar not act as a safe haven during the banking crisis because pretty much we've gone down the whole time. The banking crisis, not the bear market. And again today. So it's rare, historically, I would say, modern history to see the dollar not catch a bid when there's fear, but it's happened, and it's happened, very recently. So again, we see the same. That helped gold and silver. We'll get to that, but it was more the fear that helped gold and silver. But I mean, look, I wouldn't say this is bearish because we've broken out. We're just going sideways, and we could easily, let's say the banking crisis gets resolved for another week, we could go back up. But I don't believe too much in a strong rally in the dollar. But still, I reckon breakout. But again, FOMC tomorrow, so they could just say, for example, 25 basis point hike, but not 2 times 25, which maybe the market is now expecting because Zelensky got fooled into that phone call with the Russians where he admitted 2 basis points. So maybe the Q&A part, for example, they state 25, and the Q&A, they say, oh, but maybe not another 25. And then, oh, that was a surprise, dollar down. Basically, let's see what happens. I still think these trend lines are good, well placed, and they'll be helpful. So that's the dollar. Let's look at commodities now. Copper down. I mean, yeah, it did just get smashed down to support. So I did think that it'd find quite a hard time rallying up to here, but basically straight away smashed down. Unlike the siblings, gold and silver, so copper really following the markets. That's something I was wondering, which way does copper go? When this hits the fan, does it follow gold and silver, or does it follow more the markets and general commodities? And to be honest, commodities got smashed not because of the dollar going up. So they kind of followed general market sentiment. And it was good to see gold and silver stand out. So commodities just smashed, copper included, natural gas included. Now it looks like it wants to go towards the bottom. Obviously, let's see what happens tomorrow. But natural gas, a bit like the dollar, finding a hard time rallying. Oil, this surprises me. I didn't expect oil to get smashed down this much, this easily without being bought. And look at this, a close below all of these, 72 support zones. So, I mean, I still think 70 is support, and below that, I think generally it should have been bought today. I'm a bit surprised by that, but good. I only own one oil stock, and it hasn't really been following oil down. So I started to look at new other oil stocks today. Murphy's Oil, for example, is one of them, because long term this could be good. But yeah, it's a bit like uranium, which I'm going to get to literally in 5 seconds. These are some commodities I don't really have exposure to. Oil, just one stock. Uranium, 0. And okay, well, I'll finish here on oil. I mean, oil is very interesting, though. Let's see how far down it goes. I really am interested. I may just panic buy a random oil stock if it goes down here, just like a first tranche, probably a senior or a mid-tier, sort of, not a junior. But yeah, I might dip my toes into an oil stock here, one other than the one I currently hold, which is Prosper Energy, because I think oil long term is great. And yeah, if it loses this support, then we probably will flush a bit. That'll be a panic. But for me, geopolitically, supply demand wise with OPEC, I think it's a buy where it is. Okay, uranium. This I'm very happy to see because I don't own it. Honestly, uranium down with the markets, that was good to see. If we go down one more candle, we're starting to test this ascending support again. I don't think it will break it even post FOMC, because it's strong support, and still that would require almost 5% move. And to close down at low of day, on a 5% move, I don't expect that to happen. So at least 1 or 2 bounces if it does go down there. And then let's see, I would love to see this below 18. Then I can finally buy the uranium stocks. And uranium stock ETF, I think it's URNM. Similar chart, very similar chart. Let me actually bring it up. Takes 1 second. Exactly, identical. So, and here's my little list. I know CCJ, which is really the senior outperforming one, that will not break its support because I see quite a lot of strong support, like double tram lines here. But there are some other ones. Yeah, I'll get to that later, or in a different separate video. But basically, I got my eye on uranium, a bit like oil, because what a commodity to own long term in this environment at these prices. Okay, gold and silver, beautiful stuff. I mean, it was just sideways holding 1970. I thought when it was in the 1970s that maybe today is the day it closes below 1970, but not the case. And then today, after a pretty bearish yesterday, just bam, massive engulfing closing. You know, I did say, is it 2012, 2015? And today we closed above 2015 and 2016. What would be ideal is above 2020, but by then you're already at the high. So this is obviously very bullish, but of course, it all depends on what is said FOMC. But gold has a lot on its side. It's almost like no matter what happens, it's got a reason to go up. And today it was one of the only assets up. So my watch list, gold, silver, and all the miners just green. And because I have so many on my watch list, it was essentially half my list green, but the other half was drenched in red. Silver, similar. It's just that candle yesterday that ruins the picture a little bit, but you can ignore it to some extent. We closed this time above the descending, but the descending was ruined by that candle yesterday, so I can delete that. But that's actually what it broke out of yesterday, that descending. It's my favorite one, and it worked again with silver, even though it got smacked down. But silver, next resistance is 25, 26. Yesterday's high, but otherwise 26, same thing. If we close above that, we're going to go to 27 and 28 and 30. And for that to happen, gold has to be above 2060, 2050 at least. Tomorrow could be the day. It could be a day, another move like today, 30, $35, and you're above 2050, which means you're going to go to new all-time absolute colossal highs. And if that happens, you can expect, might as well move to it, the miners to also, so GDX would go close above 36.20 tomorrow if we do have a 2050 close, I reckon, which is, what is it, a 4% move, definitely doable. It's exactly the same thing as today. Just as gold, a $35 move is needed for 2050. The same sort of percentage would be required from GDX, 4%, which is quite interesting. GDXJ, a little bit more needed, but it will outperform 6-7%. That's quite the ask, but doesn't matter if we're one day late. And then we look very, very strong for a test of the descending on GDXJ and GDX. Don't know how much resistance this will act on the way up, but it's very, very good. But it all depends on what happens tomorrow, which is out of our control. But I loved it today. Bitcoin, it went up. To be fair, it went up. One of the only asset classes to go up. So I'm going to mention that. Not too strong. It's just sort of made up for yesterday's drop. But, you know, does it lose a bit of its luster with the markets going down? The banks sending it up? I don't know. I think overall, if you have banking crisis dominating, you'll have Bitcoin up, but it has a lot of resistance around 30,000, so I'm not sure what to expect. Whereas the gold chart shows a lot less resistance. It's more bullish. Gold and silver especially. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Very exciting stuff. Hope that was useful. Tomorrow will be absolutely crucial. Really looking forward to that video. Otherwise, have a good evening.